I chose to speak out because as someone who has advocated for racial literacy in the SF institution for 4 years, I have continued to be belittled, dismissed, and unheard. The covert and overt racism perpetuated by the institution has been combated for years by individuals, and yet our voices continue to be swept under the rug. I want future Trubies to not have to sacrifice their personal dignity in order to get a good education. St. Francis can no longer pretend that racism does not exist in their institution. Our voices will finally be heard.
As a part of the St. Francis community, we have seen and experienced racism firsthand.
It's important for us to realize that St. Francis must do better, although we recognize that racism existed on the St. Francis campus.
Reading the comments really shows how many girls experienced it. Their stories cannot be silenced any longer. Enough is enough.
I spoke up because I believe that in speaking up, I can empower my fellow Trubie sisters and allow them to know that they are in a safe environment and that I am always here to support them.
I decided to speak up because I overcame my fear of judgment, and I realized that this allowed SF to have a great opportunity to make a change, which would allow future generations to not have to go through what me and my other sisters went through. I really hope SF takes this time to make that change.
Hi, my name is Elise Patterson. I'm from the class of 2019, and the reason why I spoke out against St. Francis is because I wanted to call them out on their empty words. I wanted to make sure that they knew that we have presented problems beforehand, and they had ignored them or brushed them aside. So for you to pretend to stand with us now is hurtful and rather insulting. I wanted to make sure that the incoming young Black women were people that I could leave at St. Francis and know I'm leaving you in safe hands.
Hi, my name is Kenna, and I'm currently a St. Francis student, and I wanted to speak out about what's been going on at St. Francis because I have so many close friends and peers of color at St. Francis who have been hurt by administration because their voices haven't been heard. They've brought their issues to administration multiple times, and they have done little to nothing to resolve the issues. I think that if I speak out today, then change could happen, and if more of us are speaking out, then there could be a great change in St. Francis, and I want that for the generations to come.
Hi, my name is Yasmin Duffy, and I'm a graduate from St. Francis High School. I'm not the first young woman or the last young woman to report racially insensitive and hate-motivated speech while attending St. Francis. Administration has been notified on multiple occasions of what happens to their women of color, and they've done nothing but sweep it under the rug in order to maintain their image. We're looking for solutions to this problem, and we believe that the solution is training. Teachers need to be trained in unconscious bias, equity and access, and learn culturally responsive pedagogy.
I attended St. Francis for the past 4 years, and while I'm grateful for my experience and the teachers that did help me to succeed and let my voice feel heard, it doesn't outweigh the negative experience that I had. I felt that admin quickly brushed racial injustice under the rug. They never tried to educate their students. They often failed with that. I feel like teachers were allowed to make racially insensitive comments without fear of punishment. I'm fighting now. I'm speaking out now because I want the classes below me to not have to. I want them to experience St. Francis to the fullest without fear of judgment or racial microaggressions.
I think a lot of us are speaking up right now because we understand the privilege we receive from going to St. Francis. We understand how hard our parents worked and how hard we worked to send us there. But we know when things need to change. We are proud brown and Black women that know the power of our words, and there's going to be future generations of brown and Black women that will attend St. Francis, and we don't want them to feel sisterhood just now through sharing their racial oppressions and traumas like we did. We want them to feel heard. I want my sister and her friends to feel heard. We speak now because we know there's a change that needs to be made. We know that girls want their identities to be acknowledged, not just as faces of the posters or billboards. Change starts at the root of the problem, and it starts at all these institutions that let racism perpetuate.
Hi, I'm Anisha. I'm an alum from the class of 2019. I chose to speak up because I think it's important that people listen to our experiences and understand them, because racism and diversity are not openly talked about at St. Francis when they should be. Girls who speak up are shut down, and that sort of one-way dialogue is not conducive to any kind of change, and I don't want future students to ever feel unsafe or that they don't have a voice. St. Francis promotes that it graduates young women who change the world, and if that's truly their goal, then going forward, they need to make a conscious effort to create an educational environment that fosters all kinds of diversity. Diversity of thought, of race, of sexual orientation, and of religion.
I chose to speak out because while I'm grateful for all the opportunities St. Francis has awarded me, they have created an environment that fails to hold staff and students accountable for their racial sensitivity, whether it is microaggression or overtly racist acts. There are students and teachers who have repeatedly mistreated students of color, and their actions are often met with little to no consequences. To see administration take no action is incredibly disheartening and sends the message that students who speak out are more likely to be reprimanded than listened to. I truly hope that moving forward they can take concrete steps to create a more inclusive environment.
My name is Jayliana Smith, and I'm a class of 2019 graduate from St. Francis High School. The reason I decided to speak up about the recent events, as well as what I endured like many others at St. Francis, is because I was tired of the racism, the inequality, and feeling like I was below every single individual that was a non-person of color at my school every day for 4 years. It didn't matter if you were smart, it didn't matter if you conformed to the societal norms of St. Francis to fit in, you were still Black. It was like at any moment in time when you tried to stand up for yourself or others, you were too aggressive, too angry, and too threatening. But my question is, why? Why is that? The color of my skin offended you and scared you because I didn't look like you. But it's not like I chose to be the color that I am. But if I had to choose, I'd choose to be Black every day. Because I'm a proud and educated Black woman who is not afraid to speak up for those who are afraid. I and many others will not stop fighting for what we believe in, which is what is right. And what is right is not this. St. Francis, what you are doing is not right. And we will not be silenced anymore because Black lives matter.